Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel on Property to Prosperity. Today we have Ivan back with us from M+L Associates to share with us this big topic on defect check. Recently there's a lot of owners who are taking keys to their new units, the TOP units, and after waiting for 3 years or more, they realize that when they take keys to their house, they see a lot of defects, but some of them don't even know whether are they defects or are they not. So I want to hear your expertise. Today, if I take a key to my new place, and the first thing I need to look out for, what are the things that I need to look out for?
Alright, so hi everyone, thank you for having me again. Ivan from M+L Associates, Creative Director, and I believe that you have taken up most of my checklists and tips from the last talk. So today, right, we go to one of the most fundamental aspects of renovation or even for buying a property, defect checks. So this is very important, so pay attention to what I'm going to share with you right now. What should we look out for, especially for brand new units? So as an ID, I believe right now if you go online, social platforms, you will see many defect check teams and all. So there are many tiers to that. But as you engage an ID, we are the first tier. So what we do is we always check for more of the important things like leakage, or is there any water coming from outside whereby they did not do the sealage of the walls properly, or like door frames loose, handles cannot close properly, or maybe the vinyl flooring, there's a pop-out, things like that, or even like in the bathroom, the tiles, in the kitchen, the tiles, are they aligned properly? So this is very basic, and for most brand new BTOs, that is maybe what you might need only. Then we go a bit further. Should I engage a defect team rather than me? Today, if I check for you only, right, there might be some conflict of interest. You will have a third party coming in, so there are some things, because they are specialized, there are even more minute things that they will check in. Okay, but HDB is HDB. The things that I check already, right, quite major already. They will check smaller stuff like the paint job, the grouting, then maybe if the switches are not straight, that kind of thing. These are basic. Major ones are like those in the Tengah plantation area. I mean, you heard of the aircon. I have clients that actually they tested about 48 hours they on. The condensation went into the entire wall, because the wall is not concrete, it's a dry wall. The whole thing was all wet. So they were so terrified, young couple, terrified, okay, they asked them to remove and they get their own aircon system. And bear in mind that you're not fully refunded also. You might need even a top up, something like that. For those in the Tengah area.
What is it about the Tengah issue? I'm not sure.
So if you go there, right, you'll see a lot of piping on the first level one. It's their Pioneer system, centralized aircon system. So you don't need to buy your aircon units they have already. But apparently a lot of condensation problems happen. Really like the whole wall soaked with water. But that's for there. But in the most typical brand new BTO flats, same thing. The flooring, whether it's popping out, okay, the door frames, the hinges, all those, right? Or even the window, are they sliding properly? These are the main things you must inform BSC the moment you take your unit. For BTO, if resale is a different story, or for landed, that's a different story. Yeah.
So my question is, right, as someone who is taking keys for a TOP unit, most of the time they will be given the keys and then they will come to the unit and they will just look, see whether there's major issue, are the walls straight, plastered nicely, are the flooring smooth, are there scratches on the floor, flushing system, water system, kitchen, carpentry and stuff. But these are only to most buyers, like visually we can see. And if today I don't want to engage a defect check because we need to pay for it, there are some people who do free. The feedback is that it's just like a very hasty job. They just like skim through it and that's it. So let's say if I decide not to get a defect person to come here and check, I decide to check myself.
Yes.
What you mentioned earlier is that look for the obvious defects. But when should I then start to take note that maybe this development or this unit I'm taking keys from may not be good enough for me to do my defect check myself? And the worst is that after staying in for over a year, where the warranty period is already over, then I realize it's too late to get management to do it for me. So what are the telltale signs that I must look out for if I really need to engage a defect check team?
Okay, first of all, your ID is your first defense, correct? Unless you get a very seasoned ID, right? Most of the time, it should be the ID's team, the tiler, the plumber, the carpenter that comes together for their first meeting and do the inspection together. If you ask the ID, right, some things might be left out. Because internal technical problems is not their expertise, most of them. They are mostly in the design phase area. Because anything we check, right, we also go back to our respective experts to ask them.
Okay.
So then, of course, defect teams are outside in the market. There are those very thorough, professional, and those like you can find Carousel.
Any difference?
Got difference. Some is like they just anyhow paste stickers everywhere. It's just, everything is a defect. But some they can take apparatus, equipment to test. Yeah. And then they'll show you exactly why, and even explain to you why this thing is not straight. You know, or even like the leveling of the floor. If most people don't know, right, is that towards the kitchen there's a gradient. Then some people think it's like not straight, but the gradient is for the water flow, the flow inside. Things like that. If let's say you see in the trends now, there are a lot of problems. Then of course take this fear out. I mean, the cost ratio is maybe like between 500 or 1,000. These small costs compared to your 800k purchase is nothing. Just go for it. Then they do a thorough inspection of everything, and then you'll be safe. Yeah.
So meaning to say, in order to decide if you want to engage a professional defect check team, or if you already have an ID in mind, and your ID from reputation wise, you know that this ID is quite a relatively reputable firm. Within them, they should have a department that they can take note of all these nitty-gritty things, which also includes defect check. So this defect check will be the team of flooring and electrical works and all this to come down and check for you. I feel that this should be a value-added service if you decide to engage the ID.
Correct, because maybe a decade ago, right, we don't have such defect check team. It's not very thorough. Nowadays, right, you see in TikTok, you see in all the stories, it's a must. Okay, and you ask me whether good or bad, I'll say it's for the better. MCSTs or even BSc, they all have to step up their game. And of course, moving forward, you don't hear a lot of like, I got water leakage problem. It happens a lot over in Singapore. It happens a lot. I have a friend who is in the waterproofing service, right? Every time rainy season, a lot of households got water leakage, and some even like just done their tiling works finish. Then they never do water bonding tests. Yeah. So how thorough you want to go to your testing varies. You just straightforward ask the ID firm. You all do thorough defect check. If no, go engage. Yeah.
Because it's not cheap. Like personally, for my unit, I engage a defect check person, and I see the difference between my client who used a free one versus the one that I paid for.
Correct.
So the one that my client used, the one that was free for them, it was just like they just come and like what you mentioned, paste sticker everywhere. It looks like it's done, and it took like probably just an hour. And then my defect check guy who came, we paid him almost close to 1,000 to do this defect check. He was very thorough, and the best part is, if we don't get my defect guy to come and do this defect check for us, we will need to wait for a queue for the management to come and rectify the defects.
Correct, yes.
But it makes a difference because this defect guy has done defect checks for tons of condo that are TOPing. Then when he come in, he know the system very well, he know how to plug it in, he know how to bypass the system to get contractors to come and do the defect check. That's why we could start our work very fast. So I think you really pay for the value. Like if you want things to move fast, either get an ID who has a team or reputable one to help you to do your defect check, and then they can also do their renovation thereafter from there.
Correct.
Or if you don't plan to do much reno, then just get a professional defect check person to do for you to have a peace of mind.
Yeah. Because condos have too many concealed items. As you know, almost all condos is already moved in with all the furnishings in already. You don't know what's the condition, what's the carpentry. I mean, yes, there are most of them as top tier, but underlying problems, right, on a very superficial mode, most IDs won't see one. It's not their expertise. Engage a professional and then they give you a report also. Yeah.
So Ivan, with your 8 years of experience, have you ever met clients that, you know, after they renovate already from previous renovation firm or whoever, then they realize maybe 3-4 months or half a year down the road, they don't like this concept anymore. They don't want to spend too much money to change the concept. How do you advise them? How do you solve this problem for them?
Okay. This kind of problem is all about the pre-renovation phase. A lot of our clients always very rush. 2 months I want to have this finished, 2 months I finish. A lot of IDs, right, don't inform the clients that it should be a 1 month phase of design prep before the renovation begins. Okay, so nowadays, maybe someone engaged me, then they say first appointment. 2 weeks later, you come out with a 3D drawing, and then you see whether the design nice.
That's true.
Okay, very typical, right? Yeah, seems fair, right? So my question to you is this: IDs, right? We talk about very established ones, lah. They spend 3 years to gain a degree or diploma, okay? And your entire house renovation takes 3 months. You want them to come up with a concept and direction in 2 weeks. And only based on the first time 1 hour meeting with the client.
Oh, yes.
It will not bode well. And there should be at least 3 to 4 brainstorming sessions before the decision is made. Let's go into the reno phase. So the thing is, we always miss out that 1 month prep time with the client, with you. Show how a renovation is 3 months, 1 month, and 2 months the reno. What do you think, Kelly?
It makes a lot of sense. I don't think anyone advised me in this way before. Like not with the many houses that I've renovated. Like normally when we sit down, I'll tell the ID, you know what, I like this concept. Can you do something based on this floor plan and draw for me? Then we'll just pick the ID that gives me the concept that is closest to what I want. And if I were to know I have this 1 month prep work, then I will feel that it will give me a lot of time to ease into what I want.
Correct. So if we didn't have that 1 month phase, right, then it's like on the go one, you know. Hey, you must make a decision by 2 days time. Then you already pressure, then you need to move in. Then you just redundantly say, okay lah. Then move in already you face it. I regret.
So the key is not the renovation, the key is the prep work.
The prep work, yes, very important. You must give the ID that time.
I don't think a lot of IDs advise this, to be frank. Like they will just take instruction from you and kind of give you a few concepts.
You have to source carefully lah. You have to source carefully. I mean, the truth is there is a lot of IDs right now who's just in for the sale. If yours is just a very basic reno, yes, just go for it. But if you're really looking for something unique for your home, then source your designers carefully.
True, makes sense.
How to source carefully?
We all see Google review, yeah.
So Google review is one thing lah, right? But Google review is always towards the company, I mean, it's not to the individual ID, right?
Yes.
So if you really want to source a good ID, your ID on hand should have projects on. And then you have a portfolio which you can describe.
I align with this completely. Because my first ID was a disaster. It was a client of mine, so I thought maybe just support the client, and I didn't think too much about it. I didn't know ID was so intense. I didn't know that renovation is so much more work than buying a house. I always felt that buying a house is harder than doing renovation. I didn't know. Then one of my clients told me before, you know, Kelly, you can buy the wrong house, but you cannot find the wrong ID. Because you can buy a wrong house and you have a good ID, the ID will make the house good. And the wrong house become good. But if you buy the wrong house and you find a wrong ID, even if you find the right house and you find a wrong ID, everything will just snowball to bigger problems. I thought about it and I think it makes sense. Because my first ID, I never checked his portfolio. I just say, okay, you ask me to help you sell a house and buy a house, then I ask you to do my house renovation. End up, it was a disaster.
Yeah, big mistake.
Yeah.
A portfolio is not see whether he can do beautiful things. Because you don't know whether the portfolio is also done by him or her. You must ask him to describe the project. Because the whole project got phases one, you can ask him. If the person like started, right, then you know already.
True. So what kind of questions, like if this ID said, oh, I got projects on hand, let me show you. And then they will show you that this is what I've done, this is what I've done.
This is what I've done and this what I did for the customer is a different thing. Just give that extra 20 minutes for him to dwell on that project since he's so happily share for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
True.
Then that will save you another renovation.
Like interviewing but not interviewing.
Something like that.
Yeah. So look at his actual work and get him to explain. How do you transform from this? Then you can observe from there.
Correct.
Okay, good tips here. So have you ever met with clients, right? Like let's say you have taken over the job and then you are in the midst of renovating for the client, like everything's good. Then midway through the renovation, like maybe a resale flat like this, and then you realize there's more problems to it than what you have prepared for. How do you break the news to the client? And how do you help the client to solve this problem at the minimum cost?
Okay. This one happened last year. So this was a 3-room flat. The kitchen, right? Something happened to the kitchen. We did not know that the drainage, the previous owner went to pour cement inside. You know most HDB house in your kitchen, then you have one white color U shape like that. Right? The whole thing was filled with cement.
Oh my.
After that, we did some water testing, right? The water dripped to the lower house.
Yeah.
So we were already in the midst of hacking. Unfortunately, this is an old house. The in-between slab, right, was very thin. The thing got through a hole below to the unit below.
Wow. Really? Wow.
Really. So we told the client, I say, okay. So we already have pre-pictures of the place. See, this whole thing right now, your kitchen very long, very funny. There's no tiles. It's just epoxy over it and it's all uneven. Then we found that the drainage system was already trapped. Then the owner put another drainage system to another side, which were very weird. Okay, so this is a unforeseen cost.
Yes.
It's not much 4,000 plus, but it's still big. If your project is only 30,000, 4,000. Something like this, we explain carefully, every part got take pictures and how we document it part by part. Then we went down, rectify with the owner, help her everything. Then the owner was fine. Yeah. And then because the HDB bill came down also and saw, oh yeah, the thing also very thin. So owner understand and then we were able to rectify it.
Right.
So this is one defect. No one will expect the cement down there. So I come across other things like do halfway, then suddenly change concept. Let's say 6 weeks into the renovation, then the client say, I don't like this design.
So what do you do?
So first ask what happened. We already did a pre-phase, right? Which usually for mine, I always do, right? I'm thinking, why suddenly everything okay already? Then we dwell deeper, then find out that there's a budget problem. Sometimes the owner is not upfront with you. Yeah. But it's not their fault also. It's not your fault also.
Yeah.
Sometimes unexpected things happen. At most, it's cut down on the renovation stuff. But it depends on which phase. If let's say fabricated already, which is almost 95%, then you have a problem. To change a concept, like to reduce, usually don't end happily. And then most of the time is we'll just give grace to the owner and just spread out the payment structure longer. That's the only way we can do that.
So meaning to say, like for unforeseen circumstances, like maybe they have a budget of 50,000, they pay all the things timely, and towards maybe the mid to the last part, they may have some difficulty about financing, and you already done everything. There's no way for you to reverse it, which means that if someone wants to get a ID to do this, they need to make sure that the funds they have set aside and try not to let it affect your day-to-day. In the first place, when you're renovating, you shouldn't be exhausting all your penny into a renovation.
I share a bit deeper into the story. They had to put bail money for one of your family members, and that's a huge portion. Then you can't do anything. So unexpected things can happen.
So then the only way is what you can do as a gesture of goodwill is you extend the payment for them by a relatively decent period so they can still pay you back when time comes.
Correct. If an owner suddenly tells the ID, I don't like this part already, that means your pre-phase 1 month down there was not right already, or you didn't have it.
Last question. So now we are at the stage where you need to talk about the carpentry,
Yes.
the depth, and the detailing.
Okay.
Let's say midway when the ID is explaining to you the detailing, you realize that your ID is not as meticulous as what he or she has portrayed to be. Like for instance, they didn't take into consideration like maybe this depth might not make sense because the depth may not be thick enough to even put a remote controller inside. Stuff like that.
Okay.
So when you realize that the ID is not so meticulous, and you have come so far already, like all the concept plan, everything drawn, measurement all done, you're in the midst of doing the carpentry already, then you realize, this was not catered for, and now it's like that. There's no way to change ID midway, right? You just have to follow through it and accept it. Is it?
Yes. I mean, unfortunately, yes. If not, it's to negotiate with the ID to redo.
Do they have the right to say no?
They can only say sorry. Alright, so how to prevent this first? How to prevent this? Firstly, of course, any ID, right? You should look for those beyond 2 years
Experience-wise.
experience.
Okay.
Work in the field for 2 years with at least 10 projects minimum.
Then how do you know? You won't know.
So you ask them to show.
Oh, so that 20 minutes session.
The 20-minute session. You need that kind of a time frame for ID to be experienced minimum. So the meticulous part, right? If the mistake is done already, fabricated already, you really have to sit down and say whether can we redo this.
Oh. But is there already, if you redo means the whole thing has to take out?
Yeah, just do it.
Well, let's say if I'm rushing in to move.
Let's say if you are rushing to move, but it's an eyesore, best is still to redo.
Most importantly is, are we able to ask, let's say there's some form of inconvenience. For instance, I may be renting, and because of this, I need to extend my rent. Is there any way that as a consumer we are protected in this?
Okay, so for those with rental, like I'm moving out, usually we would state that in our contract. They will surely ask, if you delay me by a week, let's say a week, right? That week, the expenses, how is it going to be paid? I mean, even though we say won't, right? But we'll just put in a clause, what hotel, how much, and all like that.
Oh, have to cater for it.
Have to cater for it. It's to give that assurance, because if you're confident, then we put. Why not? Yeah.
So for those of you who are actually waiting to collect keys to your new flat or new BTO or TOP units or new launches, I'm sure some of us, including even myself, we are on rental outside. And the worst thing is that we really don't want to extend our rental, or my owner has already found someone to replace me for my rental. And I really need to get keys for my new place by a certain duration. And the ID, when you meet, has to be able to accommodate to this and be confident. If the ID is confident, you can even discuss things like, okay, so let's say if you delay me, what will be the compensation be? And you can request for it to stay inside the contract.
Correct.
No, we don't normally practice that.
Let's say you're not sure when the TOP can take the key, you're not sure yet. We will always give estimated date. Then the renovation, the entire timeline will be written out first. So I tell you, Kelly, we're not sure when you take keys yet, right? Then we will estimate this date. If the thing go forward, then push forward, backward. So you always have this assurance.
Right.
But let's say if you have confirmed already, you will take this key on like January 29. So on January 29, we already have the timeline ready for the whole extensive work already.
Right. So if they exceed, then it will be what contract says so. Then they will compensate you for this. Okay.
So when you meet me as a designer to plan your house and you already know the key date and I plan for that and it exceeds, yes. But if you don't know, then I said we have to give you away because we don't know yet. I need 2 months for the reno.
Yes.
So whatever date we start is 2 months.
Got it. Because most IDs, they will give us a very big period, like 2 to 3 months. So the 2 to 3 months to us, 1 month makes a difference.
Oh.
So this 2 to 3 months is very big. Can we get the ID to confirm with us that if it's 2 months or is it 3 months? If it's a 3 months, then it's a 3 months. It cannot be 3 to 4 months. So that is the key. I noticed a lot of IDs, they give us a very big period.
Okay. Usually on the first appointment, I would already advise today you take key. What's going to happen next? Design phase, I will list down dates and times when we're going to see material selection, first minute, second minute, third minute. Then take key on that day. Then after that, of course, the following payments are right. Because it's progressive payment. So first 40%, we'll do hacking, dismantling, tiling, masonry, electrical, water ponding, false ceiling, doors, measurement, or first phase. How long it will take for each one to come in. Because usually renovation, there's a quick guide. Wet to dry, top to bottom, we'll do in this manner.
Okay.
Then you will know the phases. We'll plan the phases according to your payments occurred. So won't go wrong.
So that means there should be a structured approach to what each item should be, how many days or how many weeks. So that as a consumer, I should be able to see clearly my ID is going to do this for me at these dates and this will take how long. Then that will be the structure that a good ID will be able to provide because most ID don't provide. They'll only tell you, okay, this week we are doing tiling. Next week we are doing whatever. So what they do is usually they will just tell us, there's no specific structure in this sequence that you mentioned.
Should have lah.
Should have. If you don't have, you need to change ID.
Should have.
Okay.
Maybe the scale too small. But even in their WhatsApp chats, right, they have the date and what we're doing. Something like that.
Got it. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing. I'm sure those of you who are watching this, you may have even more questions in mind that might be your situation or your relative or your friends. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to DM us. We will try our best to reach out to you and explain the things that you want to know. So we have come to the end of our sharing. We hope you have enjoyed our sharing so far. And any questions? His name is Ivan from M+L Associates, and I'm Kelly. Have a good day.
Thank you.